All right, everybody, how do we feel about getting Lakewood City Council started for our final meeting of the year, in theory, for December 19th, 2022? We'll call to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now pause for a moment of silence. Before we call the roll, I just want to insert the language. So just for the sake of clarity, tonight's meeting is a hybrid meeting, part virtual, part in person, pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance 109-0.01B1. And as the presiding officer of council, I'm calling for council's meeting this evening, December 19th, 2022, to be held by video conference due to the special circumstance of illnesses for Councilman Bullock, as well as in the family of Councilman Baker. Under this ordinance, Councilman Bullock and Baker need not be present for the purpose of voting and determining a quorum. With that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Baker?
Here.
Bullock?
Here.
Keppel? Here. Litton?
Here.
Marks? Rader?
Yep.
Shackner?
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 5th, 2022.
Move to dispose without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. And if it's okay, we'll just leave a brief pause to make sure our virtual friends vote rather than having a roll call vote every time we go around. And then I'm of a mind to move item 23 to the top of our agenda, but is everybody here from the Holker family yet? Yes? Great. Without further ado, let's move item 23 to the top of our agenda. Madam Clerk.
Item 23, Resolution 2022-63, a resolution to recognize Ward 2 resident Max Holker on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout as a member of Troop 293 St. Mark Catholic Church in Cleveland.
Councilman Shackner, did you want to?
Thank you. This is a little long overdue because I believe he reached this rank back in August, close to August, around that time. But we wanted to make sure, because he was going off to college in Austin, Texas, that he would be here when we present him with a resolution. Now, this is no easy task, involves a lot of work. He did a lot for the Notre Dame community out on the east side, and in the work he did as for his get his Eagle Scout rank. Just want to thank you for your service, and I think we're all excited to present this to you here. I know maybe Mr. Litton has something he'd like to say.
Oh, I mean, I would just add that, you know, Max, you, of course, participated in some of the same sports as one of my children, and I perhaps had my mother as a teacher as well. Okay, good. All right, good. Well, then I have to apologize for that then, just for Brendan. But anyway, we have always known you and your family to be caring and giving people to the Lakewood community, to your church community, and to the public at large. And we just really appreciate that you're here tonight. And I should just say that when I heard that you had reached the rank of Eagle Scout, I wasn't the least bit surprised, just having watched you over the years as a young man growing into a productive member of society. So thank you and congratulations, and you're welcome to perhaps come up and say a few words.
You want to tell us what it meant to you to become an Eagle Scout, what your project was, and how you feel about the whole thing. So
Thank you for having me here. Do you want me to talk about my project just briefly?
Yeah, sure, briefly.
Okay.
Love to hear it.
So on the east side, there was a grotto for Mary, Mother of God, and so I did a lot of fix-up work for that. I dug out and filled a pathway, filled it with lined it with like different types of wood, and filled it with gravel. Planted lots of flowers along the sides of the path. Planted a couple trees. Restored the handles for a bridge that went over like a little ditch to the grotto area. I power washed down the original bridge foundations, and then the bricks and the surrounding stones in the area. I had some masonry done to repair part of the stone surrounding like a little garden bed. Planted a lot of flowers in there. Righted a tree that had fallen over. Lot of power washing, a lot of planting. But yeah, it turned out really, really nicely. And then we put, as like a finishing touch, some lights that turn on at night, solar activated lights. So that was a really nice touch. But for me, Eagle Scout has been kind of like, I guess, my life's work so far. You know, in my 19 years of living, I've been in I've been in scouting since I was in first grade. So it's been pretty much my entire life. And it's already helped me get jobs. It's helped me get into college. So I'm already grateful for what it's done for me. So it's really, really meant a lot. And it means a lot being recognized here. So thank you guys again.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We do have a resolution that we could sort of present you with. We don't have all of our members here present, so they couldn't all sign it. But if you had a moment, we could take a quick picture of you with the resolution, and we could adopt it first. That would probably make sense, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Very wise. So I will. You can have a seat for a moment, and then we'll have you back up. But I'll move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
Or I'm sorry. Move to adopt the resolution. I apologize.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. And if we could take a quick photograph with Max, and then we'll move about the rest of our agenda. Madam Clerk, item 1.
Item 1, ordinance 12, 2021A, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend substitute ordinance 12, 2021, adopted March 15, 2021, to remove the sunset date of the original legislation and permanently expand rental rates within the city by allowing renters who tender their full rent plus any additional late fees and court costs prior to an eviction hearing to avoid eviction for late payment of rent and setting reasonable late fees that a landlord may charge a tenant. I believe we have a substitute.
We do have a few different substitutes, and I'm going to say this out loud, and hopefully I get it right, and Director, you'll correct me when and if I am wrong. But we are going to substitute this evening with a extension version of the ordinance, and that is because we haven't quite got the language perfect, or as close to perfect as we can get just yet, and we don't want this right to be taken away from any residents who may benefit from it, and as a result, we are substituting tonight to extend the existing ordinance, and then we'll, in the future, I'm sure, consider a new ordinance that will perhaps be a permanent version. Is that accurate, Law Director Vargo?
That's very accurate. Thank you.
Very good. Well, then I will move to substitute.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? And I'll only add to my colleagues that we were all emailed very recently, but we were all emailed this substitute version.
Mr. President?
Councilman Bullock.
Yeah, thanks. Just could somebody walk us through what the substance of the different versions are? That would be helpful.
Right now, we are simply extending the existing ordinance that was set to sunset on the 31st with no other changes other than dates, if I'm not mistaken. To February 28th? Okay. Councilman, does that answer your question fully?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much.
Sure. Councilman Schachner, did you have a question? Okay. All right. Seeing and hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to substitute, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
I'll get there. Opposed? And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker,
Yes.
Bach,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes?
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Schachner.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Item 2, report from the Finance Committee regarding meetings held December 12th and December 19th, 2022.
Councilman Schachner, I'm sorry, Chairman Schachner. Your 15 minutes are
You
up.
call me whatever you want. All right, so at the last Finance Committee on the 12th, we heard from Building and Housing, the IT Division, Capital Budget, and Public Works Department, which then bled into today's meeting. Really appreciated all their presentations. Very informative, learned a lot about what is going on in the city and the services that we are providing, along with detailed discussion about the budgetary needs and where all that funding comes from. And tonight, we had our final meeting of the Finance Committee of the year, where we had a couple of substitutions in terms of the final appropriations for the year, along with transfers and advances of certain funds. Those were expertly discussed or explained to us by Director Rankator there, and then we had an opportunity for council members to ask questions, bring up anything else they'd want to see in the budget, and I believe that conversation went as well as it could have. Good job, everybody. And just want to take this time again to thank the administration, mayor, which includes the mayor, of course, but mayor, the directors, especially the finance department. I know this does take a lot of work, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to walk us through all of these. I can't imagine how difficult it is to try and present how, hey, we need these funds to keep doing what we're doing well, and really appreciate your willingness to explain all that to us. At the end of the committee meeting, we did recommend for approval. We reported out for approval. Provenly reported out. I'm getting stuck on the how to say this. But all of the ordinances that are contained in the package that have to do with the budget for 2023. I will move to receive and file that communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Just want to once again thank everybody as Chairman Shackner did, but also thank Chairman Shackner for a robust set of meetings over many, many hours over the past few months. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 3, Ordinance 35, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately to establish appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Lakewood for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022. And we have a substitute.
Move to substitute.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Councilwoman Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
And that motion passes.
Item 4, Ordinance 36, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds, and we have a substitute.
Thank you, and I will move to substitute.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion passes. And with that, I would like to move that we suspend the rules to read items 5 through 16 together.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion passes.
All right, item 5, Ordinance 37, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately to establish appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. Item 6, Ordinance 38, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to enter into contracts for professional services and to advertise for bids and enter into contracts for the purchase of repair, maintenance, and operating supplies, services, and equipment as authorized by the 2023 appropriation ordinance and the administrative code with the lowest and best bidder or bidders or as otherwise provided by law. Item 7, Ordinance 39, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code for the purchase of vehicles, machinery, and equipment. Contract shall not exceed the specified amount shown without separate resolution of council. Item 8, Ordinance 40, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code for buildings and facilities improvements. Contract shall not exceed the specified amount shown without separate resolution of council. Item 9, Ordinance 41, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code for parks and pools improvements. Contract shall not exceed the specified amount shown without separate resolution of council. Item 10, Ordinance 42, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code for the sidewalk improvement program. Contract shall not exceed the specified amount shown without separate resolution of council.
Item 11, ordinance 43-2022, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or the purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code of the city of Lakewood for traffic signs and signals. Contract shall not exceed the specified amounts shown without separate resolution of council. Item 12, ordinance 44-2022, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code of the city of Lakewood for street infrastructure improvements. Contracts shall not exceed the specified amounts shown without separate resolution of council. Item 13, ordinance 45-2022, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code of the city of Lakewood for the water system replacement program. Contract shall not exceed the specified amounts shown without separate resolution of council. Item 14, ordinance 46-2022, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to advertise for bid and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder in accordance with the administrative code of the city of Lakewood for the wastewater system and treatment improvement program. Contract shall not exceed the specified amounts shown without separate resolution of council. Item 15, ordinance 47-2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, the director of public works, the director of law, the director of finance, and/or purchasing manager to enter into service contracts in accordance with the administrative code of the city of Lakewood in order to facilitate programs overseen by the Department of Planning and Development. Contracts shall not exceed the total amount shown below without separate resolution of council. Item 16, resolution 2022-55, a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the fiscal year 2023 one-year action plan of the fiscal year 2020 through fiscal year 2024 five-year consolidated plan, which includes dollar allocations and activities to be funded with federal CDBG, ESG resources, and any other entitlement funds received from HUD, all amendments thereto, and all understandings and assurances contained therein, and incorporates the city's application to HUD for the fiscal year 2023 CDBG and ESG funds.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Just want to put a bow on thanking everybody for their hard work and time in this whole process. Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk?
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes,
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Item 17, ordinance 48-2022, an ordinance to take effect January 1st, 2023, to provide for creating positions and rates of pay for full-time and certain part-time annual salaried employees and hourly rate employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement in the several departments, divisions, and offices of the city of Lakewood, including Chief of Fire, Chief of Police, and Civil Service Commissioners. And we have a substitute.
Of course, thank you. Move to substitute.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes,
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
Yes.
and that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? This will put a bow on our budgeting process for 2022 and 2023. Madam Clerk?
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes.
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
Yes.
And that motion passes. We have a budget for 2023. Congratulations, everybody.
Item 18, appointment from Councilmember Rader to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, it is with pleasure and pride that I hereby appoint Ward 2 resident Claire Foley to the Citizens Advisory Committee, the CAC. term beginning January 1st of next year and ending December 31st. Ms. Foley is civil-mindedness and extensive experience in municipal government and nonprofit sectors make her particularly well-suited to serve on the CAC. I have the utmost confidence that Ms. Foley will collaborate productively with her peers on the CAC to bring forth a thoughtful, informed recommendations for the use of Lakewood CDBG and ESG funds in 2023. Please join me in welcoming Claire Foley to the CAC. Move to receive and file.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I have to ask, any relation to Mike Foley?
Daughter.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 19, appointments from Councilmember Marks to the CAC.
Councilmember Marks.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, I'm pleased to announce that I hereby reappoint Catherine McCormick to the Citizens Advisory Committee for the term beginning January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023. Additionally, with the approval of President Litton, who was kind enough to offer one of his appointments to me, I also reappoint Ruth Gillette to the Citizens Advisory Committee for the term beginning January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023. During their first term on the CAC, both Ms. Gillette and Ms. McCormick each demonstrated a high level of engagement and leadership in their roles to recommend allocations of federal funds to local community programs. Lakewood is fortunate that Ms. Gillette and Ms. McCormick are willing to continue their service on the CAC. Move to receive and file this communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 20, communication from Councilmember Rader and Vice President Keppel regarding Public Works and Sustainability Committee meeting with the Tree Education Advisory Board.
Vice President Keppel, I believe.
Dear members of council, per section 152.05 of the city's code, the Tree Advisory and Education Board is required to arrange an annual meeting with the City Council's Public Works Committee to discuss its work. To help our community better understand what efforts are being undertaken by the board and the Public Works Department staff, we invite members of the Tree Advisory and Education Board and Acting Director Papke to discuss the condition of the city's tree canopy and to address questions from council and the public at an upcoming meeting of the Public Works Committee. On behalf of council, we would like to express appreciation to the Tree Advisory and Education Board members for their work this year and look forward to their analysis of the efforts undertaken to ensure Lakewood remains a beautiful forested city. Move to refer to the Public Works Committee.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 21, communication from Councilmember Rader regarding Poverty Awareness Month.
Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I won't read this all, but I'll just sort of paraphrase and kind of give a background of why I introduced this following resolution, which designates January 2023 as Poverty Awareness Month. I think during the months of leading up to Christmas, there's a lot of focus on poverty and poverty giving around the holidays and all that, and there's tax reasons why you want to give at the end of the year as well. I just want to make sure, and it's a national thing that I think a lot of organizations that feed the poor, that do a lot with the homeless populations around our country, felt like it was important that we continue to focus on the issues of poverty throughout the winter, the darkest months of the year. The darkest days of the year are through the end of December and then into January. So part of what we want to do here is just recognize and bring awareness to poverty in our community. We do have a lot of poverty in Lakewood. We are above the national average here. The income gap and the wealth gap are continuing to grow. And there's a bunch of groups and organizations that are entire missions and entire lives are dedicated to, including here at our City Hall. Chad Berry and the Human Service Department, a lot of what they do is dealing with poverty here in Lakewood. Greater Cleveland Food Bank, Lakewood Alive, the Lakewood Community Service Center are a couple other groups that do that. So just trying to bring attention to this important issue and reaffirm that and rededicate ourselves, redoubling our efforts towards addressing systematic poverty however we can. So I would like that this be adopted at some point in January preferably the first meeting in January. I won't be here. One of the reasons I'm introducing this tonight is because I will not be here for the first meeting in January. I'll be away. So, and thank you to Vice President Keppel for taking the lead next meeting when we'll have some folks here that we can present a nice resolution to, if my colleagues decide to pass this, I think, important piece of legislation. So I'll go ahead and move to receive and file that communication. Thank you, Mr. President.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'm sure we'll find time to talk about it in the new year. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Councilman Bullock, I just want to affirm your vote.
Aye. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 22, Resolution 2022-62, a resolution to designate the month of January 2023 as Poverty Awareness Month in the city of Lakewood.
Move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 24, communication from Mayor George regarding mayoral reappointments to boards and commissions.
Mayor George?
Members of council, the following communication provides various reappointments to various boards and commissions throughout the city. There appears to be an administrative error, so it looks like we're going to take this up in January.
Great, thank you. So with that note, I'll move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 25, communication from Director Rankator regarding the parking fund.
Director Rankator.
President Litton and members of council, the activities within the parking fund are being delineated and identified, and this fund will be renamed the parking meter fund, which to identify it as the proper receptacle for public space dedicated to motorized transportation. The parking fund will retain its original purposes, and the legislation further clarifies that EV charging and scooter revenue are activities within the parking fund. The parking fund will retain its current fund number 520 and place within the city's chart of accounts. Thank you.
Thank you. It sounds a lot like a George Costanza donation fund of some kind or another. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 26, Ordinance 49, 2022, an ordinance to take effect immediately, further delineating the acceptable uses and purposes of the parking meter fund, Section 12916 of the codified ordinances, to include new revenue and expenses associated with electronic vehicle charging stations, parking meters, electronic scooters, and public space acquired or used to facilitate alternative forms of transportation.
Seeing no need to refer this to a committee, I'll just move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Bullock.
I do welcome this proposal. Maybe we could have a discussion at the next council hearing about it. Two questions that occur. So Director Rankator, is this largely at this stage a financial planning step? It's a good point that electric vehicle metered charging stations are a new function for city-owned and operated parking spaces, and then the same goes for, scooters are a new category of new phenomenon. So my question is, two questions. One is, have we gotten as far along as planning capacity? Do we have a target amount of revenues and a target number of facilities that we're budgeting for? Or are we not that far along? And then secondly, what scooter funds do we receive? Is it just a royalty payment? And I thought what people do is they rent for operation, but they don't pay for parking of a scooter, right? So if maybe there's somebody who could speak to those points, I'd love it. Or if we want to talk about it at committee, that'd be fine with me too.
Thank you for those comments. Any Vice President Keppel.
I note that in the legislation, it seems like it's removing requirements for an annual report and a state inspection bureau of approval. I don't know if we want to talk about that now, or I wonder if we shouldn't refer this to committee, since there's a little bit more to.
I mean, I'm amenable to adjusting my original deferral.
I'll move to refer to finance.
Well, let me first withdraw my motion to defer. And then I'm open,
I'll move to refer to finance.
I'll second that. Any discussion on the motion to refer to finance, since it, didn't have anything going on lately or anything? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 27, communication from Director Rankator regarding the 2023 bond anticipation notes.
Director Enketor.
President Litton and members of council, the following ordinances relating to the 2023 bond anticipation notes in the amount not to exceed $16.41 million will be used to finance capital improvement projects. The other ordinance relating to the 2023 bond anticipation notes refunding in the amount not to exceed $21.285 million were used to finance capital improvement projects. These bond anticipation notes are for prior year projects still under construction. Another one-year note will be issued to repay or roll the prior year notes. The $16.1 million in new notes corresponds to the 2023 capital improvement program paid by way of bond anticipation notes and were included in the 2023 budget and budget hearings. It includes $2 million in street improvements, $8.39 million in roof and facility improvements, $650,000 in sidewalk improvements, and $5,370,000 in park improvements. I respectfully request that this legislation be placed on first reading and referred to Finance Committee for further review and discussion.
Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Thankfully, we just talked about capital needs just earlier today. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes. And I'd now like to move that we suspend the rules to read items 28 through 32 together or concurrently.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes.
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
Yes.
And that motion passes, Madam Clerk.
Item 28, ordinance 50, 2022, authorizing the issuance of notes in the amount of not to exceed $2 million in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of improving Arthur Avenue, Lakeland Avenue, Olivewood Avenue, Esther Avenue, Roycroft Avenue, Wyandotte, and other streets located within the city between certain termini by resurfacing and replacing concrete together with all necessary appurtenances thereto and approving related matters and declaring an emergency. Item 29, ordinance 51, 2022, and authorizing the issuance of notes in an amount not to exceed $8.39 million in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of constructing a refuse recycling facility and animal shelter, renovating refuse truck parking facility, replacing or improving the roofs of public buildings, including the municipal facilities garage, improving the sites thereof, including infrastructure improvements, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and approving related matters and declaring an emergency. Item 30, ordinance 52, 2022, authorizing the issuance of notes in an amount not to exceed $650,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of improving sidewalks within the city and approving related matters and declaring an emergency.
Item 31, ordinance 53, 2022, authorizing the issuance of notes in the amount of not to exceed $5,370,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of improving parks within the city, including Foster Pool and Lakewood Park and other park improvements, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and approving related matters and declaring an emergency. Item 32, Ordinance 54, 2022, authorizing the issuance of notes in the amount of not to exceed $21,285,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of designing, engineering, permitting, and constructing a new outfall, stone revetment, and rehabilitating the existing sewers, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, improving and reconstructing the city's recycling facility, improving the city's jail, improving sidewalks within the city, replacing or improving the roof of the Public Works garage and other public buildings, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, improving heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems in various city facilities, including the municipal utilities garage, wastewater treatment plant, women's club pavilion, and city hall, improving Detroit Road, Hilliard Road, and other streets located within the city between certain termini by resurfacing and replacing concrete, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and designing, engineering, and constructing water improvements, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, replacing or improving the roof of the Public Works garage and other public buildings, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, improving parks within the city, including Foster Pool and other park improvements, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, improving sidewalks within the city, improving Hilliard Road and other streets located within the city between certain termini by resurfacing and replacing concrete, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, designing, engineering, and constructing water improvements, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and designing, engineering, and constructing sewer improvements, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and retiring notes previously issued for such purpose, and approving related matters and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I'd move to refer all of those items to Finance Committee.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Bullock.
that last title had to be the longest in history and the greatest number of the word appurtenances I've ever heard, but happy to support the motion. Thank you.
No, our assistant clerk, Laskew, took one for the team there, to be sure. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes.
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Item 33, communication from Director Vargo regarding 2023 to 2025 collective bargaining agreements with the Fraternal Order of Police and AFSCME.
Director Vargo.
Thank you. President Litton and members of council, enclosed, please find 4 resolutions for your review and consideration. If adopted, the resolutions would ratify the tentative collective bargaining agreements for 2023 through 2025 between the City of Lakewood and the following bargaining units respectively. Number 1, FOP Ohio Labor Council Patrol Unit. Number 2, FOP Ohio Labor Council Supervisor Unit. Number 3, AFSCME Local 108 Public Works Employees. And 4, AFSCME Local 108 Administrative Employees. The tentative agreements are the result of arm's-length negotiations between city administration officials and the respective employee representatives. The administration believes that the agreements reflect an appropriate balance between fair and full compensation for these important employees and the safeguarding of public funds. With these agreements, members of council, this will complete the administration's submission of collective bargaining agreements to council for approval this year. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Director Vargo, the union vote for AFSCME was today, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, with approval.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes. I'm of a mind to do these one at a time, yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Item 34, Resolution 2022-64, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Patrol Division for a 3-year period commencing January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2025, and ratifying that agreement.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Bullock.
I'm happy to follow leadership on the motions tonight. We have not yet had what we discussed some meetings ago, which is an in-depth briefing, potentially an executive session about all of the material details and more is the point expenses. I understand that it's the administration's position from a broad perspective that these are affordable contracts, but I think it's council's fiduciary duty to understand that with a little more granular detail. And yes, I can read the budget and see the numbers in the budget binder that we've been reviewing for some time. But I would ask you, Mr. President, or the finance chair, do you or will you schedule a committee meeting where we can get such a briefing? Thanks. Because that was my understanding that we had agreed to that when we talked about this last.
No, you're correct, Councilman. What might make sense in the new year, perhaps early in the new year, would be to have both a, what do we call, the update from our law department on just any pending legislation updates, and perhaps couple that with a discussion about these contracts and how everything went. And we can have those together as one executive session, potential executive session in the new year.
Would be glad to, yes.
Okay. Could we expect that that update in the first couple months of the year
Yes, Council President.
without putting too much on your plate?
Not a problem.
Realizing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Bullock, do you have any further comment?
I appreciate that, Mr. President. Thanks.
Absolutely. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 35, Resolution 2022-65, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Supervisors for a 3-year period commencing January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2025, and ratifying that agreement.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Councilman Baker.
Yeah, this is more of a clarification with what's on the docket. Page 16, section 2002 has in very bold letters, this needs to be reworked so it's not against public records law. So I just hope that the one that was signed, or maybe, it's a perfunctory administrative task that doesn't affect the effectiveness of it, but it's just something that I think needs to be cleared up. I know a lot of times in my drafting experience with contracts like this, you typically put, subject to the Ohio Public Records Law, comma, and then put whatever section you're going to put in there, but just thought I'd note that for the record.
Thank you. I haven't found what Councilman Baker is referring to in my version. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm just trying to scan quickly.
It's page 16 of the PDF, and it's section 2002 investigations.
And I'm looking at, this is item 35, correct?
Yeah, then the version that's on Granicus is different. If it's because it's the supervisory FOP one. So I don't know if the one in Granicus is just an earlier draft.
Law Director Vargo, do you have any commentary to add?
I'd be glad to look at the language, Council President.
And I'd be happy to move to just strike that language from it and pass it. However, given what the language is,
Yes.
I have a brief hesitation in doing so.
Sure. I need to get to it. Give me one second.
It's Article 20, I think.
20.02. See, it's right there. Now it's right there
On the screen.
page, yeah.
On the big screen, yeah.
Yeah. I think we can pass it just saying that that language needs to be removed.
Law Director, do you object in any way to that? I'd be happy to do so.
The proposal is simply to remove the all caps or the
Correct.
entire?
Just the portion in all caps. Again, I'm only giving
Yes.
pause because of what it says.
Yes, I understand. I agree. We can, let's just remove the all caps.
Okay,
I think it otherwise works.
okay. And to our knowledge, this is the only version we've received to our council office.
Yes, we only received one version from the administration, I believe. Is that your understanding, Nick?
Okay. So with that, I'll first withdraw my motion to adopt and move to amend Resolution 2022-65 to strike those capital letters in Article 20-02 that says this needs to be reworked so it is not against public records laws. So moving that we strike that from the resolution.
Council President,
Second.
That motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Go ahead.
that's fine. The version on the docket I'm looking at does not include that language.
Sure.
So perhaps,
I know they sent one version. I put it in Granicus.
of the actual docket.
Okay.
That verbiage? No. Okay, just that one.
Well, in any event, the version up, we just exclude the all caps, and
And we're okay?
it will be
From
okay.
our- Okay.
Thank you.
That's the motion on the floor, as I understand it, is to strike the capital letters there from 20.02.
And it's-
Any further discussion with appreciation for Councilman Baker for catching that?
Mr. President,
Vice President Keppel.
when it says that the city will issue no news releases or photographs that identify said employee, would that include a public records request for body camera footage or other things that would be public records?
That's a good question. Anyone from the administration care to? And we're all
You
on
know-
the spot with this one, so,
Yeah.
let's muddle
Okay.
through it.
Yes, and I respect the question. My judgment as I read this right here, I believe, and Director Dillinger can correct me, I'm sure that this is out of an abundance of caution, out of respect for the privacy of the employee as in there, but recognizing the obligation of the city under public records laws as suggested. So, and given that the inquiries will come to the city law director, law department, we will be conscious of that issue, and certainly everything is subject to the public records laws.
Okay, Mr. President, through you, this is not new language. This article was not even addressed during negotiations. So why that in bold is even there, I can't speak to that. And, you know, Assistant Law Director Swallow and I worked on these together, so without her being here, I'm not sure if that was something that came to her attention. But with that said, my understanding of the intent of this is that, for example, if Human Resources was notified by, you know, a local media station, we would not release anything. We would refer it to the law department for them to address. So as far as this section, we never even spoke about this through negotiations, so thank you.
And perhaps it's in previous versions of same.
Correct.
Any further discussion?
Just for clarity, Mr. President, and maybe to Mr. Baker, who caught this, if you can hear me. This is a contract, so it just says subject to both state and ordinance, right? So even if there was a conflict, it would have to be worked out. We're not necessarily creating a law. that would conflict with another law. This is a contract. So is that what you were getting at? I'm trying to understand like your initial saying if we removed it, it would be fine, basically.
Well, yeah, my initial, Mr. Chair, or Mr. President, if I can respond, my initial statement was just that if this is the contract we're ratifying, I want to make sure that's not in the contract. And if it is, I want to get it out of the contract because it's not relevant to the terms of the contract. Now, as far as what, the city has, I'm not the city's lawyer, but my belief is that the city can't supersede public records law through a CBA. So it wouldn't really matter what the CBA said. The city would have to be subject to public records laws.
I think you mentioned that through the president, and that's just what I was trying to understand. So thank you, Mr. Baker, and thank you, Mr. President. And I'm fine with it if we remove the.
Okay. A true sausage being made moment. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to amend. Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Item 36, Resolution 2022-66, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 108, Public Works Employees for a 3-year period commencing January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2025, and ratifying that agreement.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 37, Resolution 2022-67, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 108, Administrative Employees, for a 3-year period commencing January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2025, and ratifying that agreement.
I will move to adopt, given Director Vargo's update from earlier.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Councilman Baker.
This one, just in Exhibit or Appendix A, where it has the wages, it doesn't, at least the version on Granicus, it doesn't show 25. It just shows 20. 3 and 24. I don't think that it's, once again, entirely, I think you can define that, the rest of the text, but I just make sure that we version that come on, but it's not a issue of the substance of the contract, just simply that point.
Councilman, you broke up a little bit there. Where's the perhaps?
Appendix A.
Okay.
I apologize.
No.
It just has 23, and I believe this covers 23, 24, and 25. So that it looks like it went from land or whatever, and asked that we correct that
In the record.
for the record.
To
Yes.
provide that page in horizontal view rather than vertical, essentially.
Yeah,
Or
I think
landscape.
if nothing else, council's role here is to approve what the administration has negotiated, and if we don't even vote on them, but I want to make sure we have the record accurately what was negotiated.
Have we seen it in the correct form before?
Mr. President, yes, when we drafted this in Word, those pages were landscape. So I think when it was formatted to PDF, it switched its
Right, and
So the original should have it.
it's an honest error. It's, but it's still information that we don't have, I suppose. So I'm not sure if there's a means to,
Mr. President, can it be submitted for the record now? Do we have them, do we have this contract in full that we can be emailed and then we can submit it for the record? Just read into the record. That way it's recorded. So I agree with Mr. Baker, the contract is all there, so that's what we're voting on. And I support it.
were we just emailed this? But it's just a summary, okay. Is it, for the sake of clarity and being thorough, is deferring this to next meeting a problem to anyone, including the union?
I don't know that it's, Mr. President, through you, I don't know that it's a problem to us in the union. It may delay us making changes for payroll purposes, causing some retro pays to occur, which we were trying to avoid.
Sure. Certainly.
That's what I see as being a potential issue.
Makes sense. I, in good faith, regardless of the error, and I think it's just an honest one, without knowing what the information is for 25, I don't know that we should approve it.
Mr. President, through you, that's just the exhibit that shows the hourly rates. In the contract, you'll see in the article for wages, it says it's a 3% each year. So the exhibit just reflects what those 3% are. So you can view it in that way, just a thought, but wanted to offer that. Thank you.
Okay, no, I'll entertain that. That makes some sense. Colleagues, any thoughts?
Yeah,
We still have a motion to adopt on the floor, and we could go forward with it. I just want to make sure we're okay with it. Slightly incomplete, and perhaps in a way that's a typographical error that essentially that could be just corrected for the record.
Yeah, Mr. President, for what it's worth, I'm fine approving. I just want to make sure that we get on the, council docket version, that's approved in the minutes and everything. It actually has the entirety of it. That would be my perspective.
No, I appreciate this. I'm simply seeking to do the most right thing, whatever that is, with this. We have a motion to defer. Any further discussion? Vice President Keppel.
Mr. President, can we just amend the motion to substitute the exhibit for the record? Or move to include a corrected exhibit with the record?
Director Dillinger, could you email all of us the corrected exhibit, like, immediately?
Sorry. Yes, I just did, so you should
Okay,
have
great.
it. Yep.
So with that, I'll withdraw my motion to adopt and move to substitute
Second.
with those changes that were just emailed to us. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes.
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
Yes.
And that motion passes. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Thank you, Councilman Baker, for catching that. Thank you, Director Dillinger and the administration for a robust discussion. Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk.
Baker,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Keppel,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes,
Marks, Rader,
Yes.
Shackner.
and that motion passes.
And
Item 38.
it's not done. Item 38, communication from Director Barry regarding contract with Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging.
Director Barry.
President Litton, members of council, pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance 111.14, authority to accept income and other things of value, this communication serves to notify you that the city intends to enter an amended contract with Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging to provide programs and services under the Title III Older Americans Act with additional funding of $103,440.90. The amendment will extend the current contract through December 31st, 2023. Older Americans Act funding has provided senior residents with 7,017 congregate and 16,324 home-delivered meals, as well as 8,227 transportation one-way trips in 2022 to date.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Good news. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 39, liquor permit notice, Foundry LLC at 11729 Detroit Avenue.
As is our custom, we defer to the council member in whose ward the permit notice resides, and in this case, it is Ward 4. Councilwoman Marks.
Thank you. I have no reason to object.
All right, I'll move to file without objection then.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 40, liquor permit notice, Artis Hospitality, 17900 Detroit Avenue.
And I believe this is a Ward 1
Yes.
establishment? Councilman Baker.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. President. I have no statutory reason to object, and actually excited about seeing this business open. Steakhouse, I believe.
Great. Move to file without objection.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. That brings us to the end of our docket for this evening. Anyone signed up for public comment? All right. Any announcements from the administration?
I have a couple, and I will be quick. Just a reminder, this Wednesday is the grand opening for the Bistro at Cove Community Center at 10 a.m., so hopefully you can make that. Also, just an update on the Public Works Director position. After a thorough interview process, we have selected someone for a new Public Works Director. His name is Chris Gordon. He's coming to us from another municipality where he spent his career in the public works sector. So we're excited to have him. His first full official day will be January 3rd, which is a council meeting. So depending on the docket, we may see Mr. Papke here as well. But we're excited to welcome Chris and excited for you all to get to know him.
Very good. Any other announcements from the administration? Acting Director Papke couldn't be happier, I think. With that, we ought to once again recognize Acting Director Papke's work, both through the budget process, but also more importantly on the ground, of making things happen in our Public Works Department. We appreciate you.
Thank you. We have an excellent team here in Public Works, great staff. So, you know, they do the yeoman's work, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any announcements from my colleagues? Councilwoman Marks.
Just want to wish everyone a very safe and happy holiday season. Hope I see you on the streets in Lakewood shopping these last few days.
And with that, thank you for those comments. Anyone virtually care to comment? Councilman Baker, Councilman Bullock?
Just along with Councilwoman Marks, just want to wish everyone a safe holiday season. If you have kids, don't forget the zoo is a great place to go in the winter. The animals are very active, so that's my plug.
All right. All right, with that, I just need to say, you know, happy holidays, happy new year, all those sorts of things to everyone. It is an honor of mine to be the president of Lakewood City Council. It truly is. Thank everybody for a great year, one that, you know, I didn't start off expecting to be in this role, but here I am. So I appreciate everybody's patience and grace as I proceeded in that. Councilwoman Marks, I'm thankful we brought you on this year. Welcome back. It's been good to have you. I know that you'll be passionate about Ward 4 residents, and you've worked so hard to help with how we face the public on council, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Councilman Schachter, you've shown your worth throughout our Finance Committee processes and budgeting process, as well as being very passionate about issues that you care about and advocate for all residents, especially women, I think, in Lakewood. They have you to thank. Tristan, you're okay. No, I'm just kidding. Councilman Rader, I really love working with you, especially on solar and green issues, and also you're very passionate about people in poverty and people in need in our community, and I appreciate that passion. Councilman Baker, you've shown your worth a couple times, like in the last 10 minutes, from a legal perspective, and making sure we don't miss everything, and then we dot every I and cross every T, and I appreciate you for that, amongst many other things that we probably have yet to see as well. And you're also a really good dad, being there for your family, of course. And Councilman Bullock, no one would ever accuse you of not being thorough and making sure that we turn over every stone and make sure that we are as diligent of council members as we could possibly be. And I appreciate that passion, as well as your passion on the environment and other issues. And then, of course, Vice President Keppel, couldn't do this without you. I'd call you the Robin to my Batman or something, but it's probably the other way around, or something like that. You keep me to task, and I appreciate that very, very much. And then, of course, our council staff, who do so much of the work on the ground, are the public-facing, in many ways, part of council as far as calls and emails and inquiries and public records requests and all kinds of other things. We could not do it without you, and I look forward to thanking you in perhaps informal ways over the course of the next couple weeks together, wherever that may be. And with that, seeing no other business before this council, I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? This is Director Leininger, you haven't gotten to talk at all, have you? Poor guy. Yeah, all right. All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Virtual, we're looking at you guys.
You cut out there, I assume there was a motion to adjourn. And if
Yes, move to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, aye.
And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Happy holidays, Happy New Year.